This is the one that you saved? You are as its father. A clan of two.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to my The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 5 preview video. We're going to be talking about everything and anything that we know about this episode and what I'm hoping to see in this episode with some of my own thoughts and opinions and theories throughout this video here, as well as a little bit of a recap of the previous episode and how that might lead into what we'll see in this episode of The Mandalorian. This here all being said, let's go ahead and hop right on into it. In this video, we're going to be taking a read from Inverse.com. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. As I read, so far, the third season of The Mandalorian has been quite the enigma. We still don't know exactly where the story is headed all that much, or really who the main villain even is. But perhaps Season 3, Episode 5 will provide some clarity and help build towards an explosive finale by the end of Season 3. And so in my own thoughts and opinions, I definitely think that the previous episode of The Mandalorian, especially featuring there towards the end of the episode of Bo-Katan explaining and telling the armorer that she's seen the mythosaur, I think is finally pointing towards a direction, a main plot line even at that, of where this season could exactly be headed, and that there would to have Bo-Katan take control of the Darksaber and become the new Mandalore to really reunite all of the Mandalorians and even help build back up Mandalore. However, as the article reads, alongside Din Djarin and Grogu, Bo-Katan Kryze has been a major player this season overall, with her unplanned conversation into the children of the Watch and all of that mythosaur business. Something is definitely bubbling under the surface. What that something is will likely be revealed soon, hopefully. So this here all being said, what do we know about the next episode of The Mandalorian? When is the release date for The Mandalorian Season 3? Episode 5, of course, is going to be on Wednesday, March 29th. And depending on your time zone, it's going to release around 3 AM on Disney Plus for Eastern Standard Time, or about midnight for Pacific time zones. And as we had also discussed in a previous video here on the channel into the regards of the runtime for this episode, thank you guys so much for all the love and support on that video, we know that this episode will have a runtime of around 41 minutes long. And after this episode, we'll have just under 3 episodes left for the rest of the season here, as the previous episode, episode 4, had been the midway of this season. So with this all out of the way, what do we exactly know into the regards of the plotline of the next episode of The Mandalorian? As per usual, Disney has kept the plot under wraps heading into the next Mandalorian installment. While a lot still remains a mystery, there are some things coming together to think about. Bo-Katan has displayed her innate leadership skills, and after her mythosaur spotting, she might actually be feeling a smidge of optimism about the overall reunification of her people and of the Mandalorians. Plus, thus far, she's been loyal to the Children of the Watch, even if the adjustment has been uncomfortable of keeping your helmet on at all times. But that leads to a new question. If the Mandalorians do reunite all together, who will lead them? Remember, it's Din who is in possession of the Darksaber, not Bo-Katan. And it definitely doesn't hurt that he has been burgeoning Baby Yoda, or Grogu, as a force-welding foundling on his side, who perhaps will eventually see to become a legitimate Mandalorian. And what about all of the Coruscant action so far? For those events connected to the greater plots and to our main heroes and characters of Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, and Grogu, how does Dr. Pershing and all the Coruscant business exactly play into this with our characters here overall is something I really hope that they have explained in this season. I definitely, hopefully, have my fingers crossed and believe that we'll finally see a main antagonist finally introduced in this episode. There hasn't really been a main antagonist all that much throughout this third season of The Mandalorian. It's been alright, it's been okay, but where's Moff Gideon, where's Thrawn, or even other Imperial remnant leaders and such? Who was the one that bombed Bo-Katan's castle is a big question that a lot of Star Wars fans out there. Was it Moff Gideon, was it Thrawn, or was it somebody else? That is definitely one of my biggest things that I would love to have answered in this episode of The Mandalorian to really help push together and bring together for an explosive finale, as the article had mentioned at towards the beginning of this video. So now with all this kind of being said here, there's not a lot we can really gander for the plot of the next episode all that much than to kind of continue to push our characters forward into something at that. And I think to do that, they need to introduce an antagonist, that somebody that's hunting the Mandalorians. And there clearly is still Imperial remnants that are more rather after remaining Mandalorians rather than wanting to deal with the New Republic, which of course is something very interesting and something I would love to see more of in this episode. So this here all being said, what happened in the previous episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4, the recap. Picking up at the Children of the Watch hideout, the Mandalorians are having a day of combat training. At Din's summons, Grogu goes up against a younger Mandalorian named Ragnar in a darts exercise, and despite his tiny size, defeats the other foundling. Soon though, Ragnar is snatched away by a giant winged raptor-like creature. Bo-Katan leads a search party to the creature's lair, alongside with Din, Paz Vizsla, the father of this foundling, and a handful of other Mandalorians. Back at the base camp, the armorer brings a forged something for Grogu, which triggers and results in a flashback scene of Order 66 to Revenge of the Sith for Grogu, as this episode finally answers the long-awaited question of who exactly was the one that had rescued Grogu during the events of Order 66. We see how Jedi Master Kelleran Beck rescued Grogu from the clone troopers on the planet of Coruscant. Coming back to the present day and time, Grogu is gifted his next piece of Mandalorian armor, which is called a rondelle. I think part of my understanding of what a rondelle exactly is that it's just like a chip of Beskar that is something that you can just kind of throw to the side and hold on to it for safekeeping until you're ready to put it together with other rondelles to forge bigger pieces of armor for your Mandalorian suit. Although, of course, I could be wrong, so let me know down in the comment section down below if you know anything about what a rondelle exactly is. Now, after resting until sunrise, Bo-Katan leads the team in scaling a tall crest when they find the creature's nest. Paz rushes in only to be ambushed by a bunch of baby raptors, and their mother soon, of course, comes along after them as well. The Mandalorians work all together to take down the creature, rescue Ragnar, and bring the baby Shriek, Hawk, raptor things back to the camp to raise as their own, which I feel like has to be the most underrated detail and part of that episode of The Mandalorian. They just have these little baby birds, well, not little birds, big birds, just kind of chilling at their covert, so to see what and how and why, what they do with these little baby raptor things in the future episodes is something I'm looking forward to seeing. At the end of the episode, the armorer forges Bo-Katan a new pauldron, as her previous one had fallen off of her armor when they were taking down the raptor creature, and Bo-Katan asks for it to feature a mythosaur skull. We then of course see that Bo-Katan tells the armorer about seeing a mythosaur on Mandalore, to which the armorer replies, "This is the way." From there, as I had mentioned earlier on in this video, how I really think that this episode could maybe be like a solo episode featuring mostly on Bo-Katan and her traveling back to Mandalore and kind of going on her own little mission and her own little whereabouts to obtain the mythosaur and learn more about it, I think, and maybe even try to ride it. Of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. What are you looking forward to seeing most in the next episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 5? It definitely still feels like this overall season's kind of still shaping out to being something. There's not necessarily a main direction that our characters are exactly going, which is peaceful, oddly, which is something I haven't really mentioned all that much, but it does feel peaceful and doesn't feel like that there is a current mission, which is honestly fine, I think, to a point. Anyway, of course, I would love to hear what you guys all think in the comment section down below. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.